Cathy Bennett joins us from St. John's, Newfoundland. Minister Bennett, I read one of the messages earlier before I came on air, and the only way I can describe what I read was it was vile. Can you describe for us, I can't imagine what the reaction was like, particularly if your family members were reading this, but can you describe for us how these messages made you feel?
Well, certainly the messages made me feel horrible and scared and very ashamed. When I entered politics, I expected that people would disagree with our policies, my policies, a position I might take, and I went into that very with my eyes wide open. But I think there's a fine line between what is considered to be respectful discourse and cyber abuse that crosses the line. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak out yesterday. I don't think it's acceptable for women to go through this.
You touched on this a moment ago. How common is it for politicians to receive hateful messages?
I think it's common for all politicians to receive some degree of discontent from their constituents. I think my male colleagues also receive angry messages. But I think the difference for women is that we tend to receive things that are oftentimes very gender specific. The language is very specific to our sexuality, to sexual exploitation. And, for those reasons, I think the tone is very, very different for women.
You called a news conference yesterday. You invited a number of female news reporters to this news conference. Why female only?
Well, one of the privileges I've had as a minister is my responsibility for the status of women. And in part of that capacity over the last year, I've learned a lot about, the serious victimization of women, particularly when it comes to gender violence. And I want to be clear, what I'm talking about in my case is nowhere near as serious as the things that have happened to women who are abused domestically, verbally, physically. There's some really tragic cases all over our country. But my personal choice to have females in the room yesterday was about my own personal comfort. And I think women have the right to make that choice. And I'm happy to chat with any reporter about the situation. But yesterday, the pictures that I wanted to share privately were very disturbing. Hadn't even shared them with my husband. And that was a personal choice that I made.
What kind of support are you getting from constituents who have seen what you've had to endure?
I've received a lot of emails and social media messages of support. I've received messages from my colleagues in finance portfolios across the country who've reached out to me, both male and female. I've received it from my caucus, both sides of the House of Assembly here. But at the same time, while we've been having this conversation in our province and now at the national stage, there have been a continuation of the messages that I showcased yesterday. And I think that's why, this issue is very live, it's very real. And I think it's important that we continue to have a conversation about it and call it out for what it is. Nobody I don't believe in our province, our country, expects that the language that's used in some of these posts is acceptable in any situation. And to attract more women in politics, we're going to have to change the level of expectation around this.
Well, along with so many who would wish you great recovery from this no doubt traumatic experience of reading these kind of messages and express sorrow that you've had to endure these kind of messages. Finance Minister for Newfoundland and Labrador, Cathy Bennett, do appreciate you speaking with us about it.
Thank you very much. And Brad, I would say that, I'm very resilient, and I'm not going to let the threats and messages I've received on social media stop me from working very hard and passionately for the people of our province. And I hope other women will follow my lead.
Indeed.